Breakfast is Tech Talk with Matthew Dickinson.
Amazon has released a new Dashcam, Matthew Dickinson, gadget that allows drivers to record police stops by simply saying, Alexa, which I think is sexist, it should say Peter, I'm getting pulled over. Why would you want that?
Well, hopefully we don't see it here in New South Wales with our wonderful police force, Richard, but in America there are some police forces that get a little bit heavy-handed.
What, apparently. You mean knees on necks type stuff?
Maybe that sort of stuff. And so this is interesting. Not only does the Dashcam record as you're driving around, so there's no real need for it, you would think, to say anything to Alexa to say start recording, because the Dashcam is recording anyway. So if you get pulled over, it's recording. But when you say to Alexa, I'm being pulled over, this new Dashcam starts then sending the footage to the cloud. So that if one of the police force gets a little bit heavy-handed and then they notice, oh, whoops, this person's got a Dashcam in the car, we might confiscate that, for example.
But then it's too late.
It's too late. It's gone to the cloud. So they've still got a memory card on the Dashcam.
Cloud's getting very full these days.
It's getting very full. That's right. So the footage has gone there, and so you could use it in a range of circumstances. I mean, I don't think we see much road rage in Dubbo, but if you're in an incident with road rage, you could say the same thing. Alexa, I'm being pulled over, and then someone comes out, confronts you, and I think the first thing I would do in a road rage incident would I'd say, by the way, I've got a Dashcam recording there, and people tend to behave just a little bit better if they know they're being recorded and if they think they might end up on the news that night.
I go into a song and dance.
Well, they're perfect. The song and dance would be better on a road rage incident.
Well, I open the fridge door and I go into an act with the lights.
As soon as the lights come on.
So it's about crime.
It's about trying to stop crime by being preventative. The thing that's made this sort of Dashcam possible, I mean, Dashcams really took off in Russia. There were a lot of...
in Russia?
In Russia, back in about 2008. The whole process was lots of people were running into each other and then making insurance claims.
I've seen those car crashes.
Oh, look, and that's where it took off worldwide in terms of Dashcam footage on TV.
Yeah.
But that's where it started. But in the past, and until recently, really it's just all been on that camera. But because we've got to the stage now where we're getting much better data speeds and much better data reception, this footage can now go out into the cloud. So the footage doesn't just stay on the Dashcam.
What sort of quality is it? Maintain.
Yeah, no, it's HD quality, so it's very good quality.
And is it legal? Is it legally submissible?
That's a very good question.
What would courts?
Yeah, I don't know the legality of it. One of the things that's interesting is...
Because you know what, just let me jump in there, sorry Matty. I'm thinking somebody who would like to get a cop in trouble would start to provoke them.
Start to carry on a bit.
Prod the bear.
Yeah, you're quite right. So,
and knowing that they're on camera, the police officer, being human, may retaliate.
Yeah.
And the bloke who's a bit angst against cops would go, see, I got you.
Yeah, and look, that's quite possible. Yeah. So admissibility, I'm not sure, and all that would need to be viewed in the whole context. The other thing that's quite nice about it is because it's got that external connection, if, for example, you had an accident, it's automatically set up with G sensors inside
Alexa, I'm about to have a crash.
Yeah, that's right. Alexa, Richard Perno's in front of me, I'm about to crash into him. So if
you wouldn't because you're in a Tesla.
Tesla.
Let it stop.
That's right, it'll save you.
Yeah.
So it will actually contact emergency services and also contact emergency contacts that you pre-programmed if you do have a crash. So again, that external connectivity combined with the normal Dashcam gives you that extra bit of flexibility.
How long does the stuff last in the cloud?
Depends on the account you've got. Most cloud services will retain your information for a month.
Where is the cloud?
Everywhere. So you've got cloud servers in Sydney, in Singapore, in the US.
So dungeons full of big machinery.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they are like I've been through several data centers and they're fascinating just to get through them with eye scans and fingerprint scans. But then, for example, when you go in there, there's no fire extinguisher nozzles you'd normally expect to see in a building, because the last thing they want in a data center is to have it filled up with water. But what they do have is a whole range of non-flammable gases, things like argon, for example. And so if you have a fire, there's a warning that will go out and tell the humans that might be in there that they've got about 30 seconds to get it before they'll suffocate, because argon will flood the area, so the fire will go out because there's no oxygen to run.
How do you get stuff into the cloud?
Essentially, most of us have got stuff in the cloud without realising it.
What do you mean?
Well, if you've got an app on your phone, or if you've got a computer that's storing anything that's not on your local computer or on your local network, it's in the cloud somewhere. So when you go onto your email server, you go to a Gmail or Hotmail, any of those sort of things, they're all stored in servers somewhere out there in the cloud. And typically there's replication, so it's not just one little server sitting in a pokey barn somewhere. It's multiple servers in one location, and then a distance several thousand kilometres away there'll be another group of servers in case an earthquake hits or power failures. So they're replicating that data.
How much power do these cloud monolithic buildings take?
Well, it's a really good question. I was at a conference recently, and before COVID, so it's not that recently now. And someone said to me, "Is the entire IT industry green? Because we don't travel as much because we've got better communications, but we've also got all these cloud servers." So I went and actually did some research, and it turns out the net result of all of this computing power is positive for the environment. In other words, we use less power in terms of powering all these servers than if we had to keep traveling and storing all those servers individually at each individual location, because you've got these economies of scale there, but they do use a lot of power, there's no doubt about that.
I read somewhere, or somebody read to me because I'm a very good reader, Matt Dickerson, that one, I don't know what you call them, one of these power units in these server containers, in these dungeons, in these buildings, uses as much power as 5,000 fridges.
Well, it depends what they're talking about. It's pretty hard to just categorise them all as one, because there are huge variations.
They must suck a lot of power.
They do, but you've got racks in them, and so you might have a rack with, say, 42 servers in the one rack, but one server farm or one data centre could have 10 racks, could have 100 racks. So there was an incident recently where Microsoft buried a server farm under the water. So they dropped it at the bottom of the ocean.
I read that,
and left it there for 2 years, and they've just pulled it up again.
Was that Elon's?
No, that was Microsoft who did that one.
It was, okay.
Yeah. So
and they retrieved it.
They retrieved it. They ran services on it for 2 years, but the idea of having it underwater was heat, generation of power, and heat is one of the big things with a data centre.
That's good for fish.
So by putting it to the bottom of the ocean, they had a nice little warm spot for them to sit there.
All these fish were floating to the top.
That's right.
So with this Alexa, I'm getting pulled over. How do you retrieve it to put it into court to prosecute the cop?
So with any of the things that are stored in the cloud, typically security is important, so you need your username and your password, which hopefully you've set up a strong password. You'd log on to one of Amazon's servers, and there would be your data, and you can then download that to a memory stick if you want to take it into court or onto your computer. So, or you can actually send it virtually to someone else, so you can actually send them a link that will give them access to actually view that footage.
How far away can you give the command to Alexa?
As long as you can hear it. So there's outside.
Say she. Why isn't it just neutral?
Well, they've called it Alexa, so I'm calling it a she.
Because I say, why in the self-serve checkouts is there a female voice saying, retrieve your cash under the bar or whatever?
Well, some of them you can change to male or female, but if you walk through Davos Square, for example, I've got an Amazon Dot set up outside my shop, and if you walk in and you just say, Alexa, sing me a song, so do this next time you go into Coles, and as long as you're within about 50 metres, she can hear you and she'll start singing you a song.
That's what we need. That's what we need. Thank you, Matthew Dickerson.
Thanks, Richard.